To get into the meat of things.
Yes, I just put the recording on, so we are recording and we'll get started. But yes, there are those days where it takes a little bit longer. Great. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for adding your name and where you're from in the chat as a way of introducing ourselves this morning. Dawn, I don't know if you wanted to introduce the webinar and any housekeeping from your end.
Absolutely, I can do that. So good morning, everyone. This is Dawn Miller. I work for the Healthcare Authority and am the Supported Employment Program Manager. Joni has been providing this service to us, doing the Job Developers Community of Practice for, has it been 6 years, Joni? 5, 6 years?
At least 5, maybe
Yeah,
going on
something
6.
along that line. And we welcome you to the call. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for taking the time. I've always found it to be incredibly valuable in regards to learning and then the opportunities to share challenges and successes, which I'm sure we'll do again today. As far as housekeeping, we're coming up on the season of scheduling fidelity reviews. So if anyone is interested in being a reviewer or hosting a review at your agency, please reach out to me or to my colleague, Darren Paskey. We look forward to working with agencies in that capacity too. And I'll turn it over to you, Joni.
Great, thank you, Dawn. As Dawn mentioned, I've been conducting the Job Developers Call, Community of Practice Call for a number of years now, and we've had a variety of different topics ranging from, straight up job development, remote job development, helping individuals to help providers listen for change talk when people that you're working with are ambivalent about making the change, and identifying employment and education goals. And we've also incorporated other skill areas, such as today, helping and assisting job seekers in learning soft skills. And we will get started. As Dawn mentioned, we will be going over some challenges and successes that you may want to review with some of your colleagues here on the call. Please let Dawn know. Reach out to me or Dawn if you have topics that you'd be interested in hearing about. Again, we kind of have several different types of topics that we can provide, but today we're talking about soft skills, and soft skills are an important but often overlooked in assisting job seekers to obtain and maintain employment. Soft skills really refer to those specific behaviors that job seekers and employees use in different employment-related situations. They're distinct from the technical skills or the hard skills required to perform the job. For example, a soft skill related to getting a job might be the ability to describe work-related qualifications to a potential employer. We'll review many of these strategies, and we'll first start with a definition defining what employment-related soft skills are. Describe different strategies to assist job seekers in learning common employment soft skills, and then discuss job development challenges and successes over the past month. Any questions? A lot of times employers, one of their biggest complaints, if you will, in general, are many times employees lack the soft skills, maybe being on time or inability to communicate effectively with coworkers or customers, maybe not being able to answer calls properly, or other kind of problem solving areas that in general many employees have a hard time learning or using on the job. So we're going to kind of frame today's discussion around individuals that you might be working with who experience challenges or obstacles related to a mental health condition, but just be mindful that soft skills are something we all use and we all potentially can improve. So let's get started. So what do you think these numbers are? 40% versus 79%. What do you think the 40% relates to? I know it's an obscure question. So 40% of adults with disabilities are in their prime working years, have a job, compared to 79% of all prime working age adults. So there's a significant disparity there. 80% of individuals with serious mental illnesses are not participating in the workforce. And the references below kind of explain that a little bit more. So there may be some barriers that are getting in the way. What are some of the barriers that you can think of that might be getting in the way of individuals with disabilities or individuals with, more specifically, mental health conditions in terms of returning to work or maintaining employment? What are some of those barriers? You can use the chat or unmute your mic. Yes, Sonia, that is alarming. Interview skills, self-stigma, absolutely, Dawn. So lack of belief in themselves are some of the barriers. Interviewing skills, that's certainly something that we're going to touch on today when we talk about helping someone explain qualifications and so on. Let's see, there's something else. Computer literacy, communication, social skills. Yes, Jessica, that's kind of what we're touching on today. So it is alarming. And those statistics vary a little bit, but for the most part, it's a very high number. Lack of confidence, seen and feeling judgment from society. Yes, Christy, absolutely. That alarming number, you on the call today, everyone here is helping to address that very, very high number. So here are just some additional skills that we're going to talk about related to those non-technical soft skills. So what gets in the way? Many of the obstacles that you mentioned, but also lack of knowledge about self and skills, what an employer requires from the job, maybe a lack of employment experience or experience in job interviewing. And then this bottom one, we're going to touch on limited soft skills. So unlike the technical or hard skills, soft skills aren't necessarily the knowledge. Oh, if we can just make sure we're muted. Thank you. Unlike technical or hard skills, soft skills are not really about the knowledge that a person possesses, but really those behaviors that people display or use in different situations. Oftentimes, the importance of soft skills is very undervalued. Far less training occurs on the job site, off the job site, related to soft skills. Most of the trainings that organizations provide are really around those technical skills, and employers oftentimes expect that employees will be coming to them with the required soft skills. The assumptions that employers make are that everyone kind of knows these skills, that they're pretty intuitive, that people understand that you have to be on time, that being friendly and other soft skills are just assumed. And I'm curious to kind of hear from you. I thought we would either do a breakout room activity. Dawn, sometimes when we do a breakout, what do you think? What do you think we should do a breakout and talk about 5 work-related skills, or use kind of the group format here?
The
Maybe
group
I
is,
should
oh, I'm sorry.
Sangha, I think you need to be muted. Go ahead, Dawn, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries. I was just going to say the group is still small enough that we might be able to do it in the larger group.
I'm thinking the same thing. Sometimes I think that's we get a lot of engagement that way. So in this larger group, identify at least 5 work-related soft skills, or 3 to 5. So what are some work-related soft skills that you might use in your work, and in what way do you use those in your work? Okay. Asking for clarification. Yes, Lance. So asking a supervisor, colleagues for clarification, a customer for clarification. We have communication, time management. Anything else? Empathy. Yes, in our jobs, absolutely. Having empathy is certainly a soft skill. Following directions. Sonia raised your hand. Yes.
Good morning. I was going to say one thing that I'm constantly monitoring for myself, at least, is learning diplomacy and not necessarily respectful communication, but learning how to be a constructive communicator. So, from something as simple as asking, like, I don't know who said it. It's moving so fast. For asking for clarification, or giving an instruction to someone, or whatever, making sure that you are not coming at someone as much as you are communicating with someone.
Yes.
And I personally find that difficult because I'm thinking too fast. So I'm like, okay, well, if we just do this and this and this, we're good. Okay.
And what happens when you are not mindful of that diplomacy? I love the way you term that. That's such an accurate description.
It is, and people get the wrong idea, rightfully so, because it sounds like hostility when it's not. So you have to be aware of how you're coming across.
And how did you become aware of that? How did you understand that that was important and a useful skill in your job?
I actually ended up working underneath someone who was absolutely brilliant, but had zero social skills, and they communicated just like I did, and I realized how it sounded. I realized how it made me feel, and then someone was kind enough to bring it to my attention and say, "You do realize that you speak that way to other people." I'm like, okay, so we're going to work on that.
So
yeah,
you learned it on the job. You were able to observe your supervisor, who you really respected and thought was brilliant, and then someone was kind enough and brought that to your attention. So
yeah.
When we're working with individuals who may have been out of work for a number of years, or may not have worked at all, oftentimes it's hard to recognize when those soft skills are missing. What are some of the challenges that people have experienced in that situation, when you're working with someone and maybe they're not aware that their soft skill in a certain area is limited?
Yeah, we're frequently not aware of ourselves because we're so used to being one way, that we need someone to bring it to our attention. And I know that I see a couple of my coworkers in here that we all have caseloads, and that's one thing that you have to very carefully introduce to your client. You must be self-aware.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have several more responses. Thank you, Sonia. Following directions, effective teamwork, being able to read nonverbal cues, voicing what one needs to do their job. So voicing to your coworkers or a supervisor what you need in order to do their job, customer service, interacting with coworkers, self-awareness, ability to communicate with prospective clients, delegation to get tasks done on time, develop problem-solving skills for major projects, self-awareness. Great. And as we're kind of talking about this, let's think about how we might teach someone skills. And before we're kind of getting into the teaching part of it, how do we assess someone's soft skills? How do we assess when you're working with someone Oh, this is a great one, Allie. Email etiquette and written communication. Yes. How do you assist someone in recognizing kind of what Sonia had mentioned, areas that they might be lacking or unaware of in terms of their soft skills? Okay. Observation, yes, Jolie. Certainly one way, kind of observing.
Well, I was going to say, in appointments prior to helping a person get a job, you'll see some of the challenges there and have the opportunity to address some of it in advance of getting a job, because you'll have seen it in appointments and things.
Yes.
So
So,
observations again.
Dawn, I didn't hear that last part. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just said so observation once again. Just
Absolutely.
that in appointments and prior to
Yes, in appointments, maybe eye contact. That's something you can observe in appointments, or how a person greets you, how a person says goodbye, how a person, you know, if the person needs something that you can provide, how they request that. Sangha says learning from continuing experience. Lance, role play. Yes. Are there any, when you think about providing that type of feedback, and oftentimes you're pointing out something that someone needs to improve on, what are your thoughts about that? How do you temper that with really like a strengths-based approach to your counseling, with how to provide feedback on something kind of personal like a soft skill? If we're thinking about the soft skills that we just identified, communication, talking over the phone, presenting yourself confidently, those are areas that might feel very personal when someone addresses those. So let's think about how that plays out. Let's see, we have quite a few responses here. Allie, discussing and debriefing on previous experiences with employers. Yes, kind of bringing it to real life situations. Let's talk about what some of the situations or obstacles got in the way of your previous jobs. Let's encourage the person to talk with you about that. Use your good active listening skills, and then find those opportunities to very constructively point out what you might be seeing as a pattern if it's related to soft skills. Carefully confronting a client, lead by example. I love that. Brooke, I know for myself, seeing the professionalism that my boss obtains, it motivates me to be the best version of my professional self. Yes, so being around people who are modeling those skills and that professionalism. Dina, asking about their hobbies. Yes, kind of opening it up and asking about things that the person enjoys. I love Monica's response here. Ask if they're open to constructive critique. Yes. May I offer some constructive feedback? How are you with hearing feedback from others? I love that. Christy, let's talk about what their strengths are. Yeah, so always lead with that strengths-based approach. Let's talk about things that you're good at, you're good with, and you're good at. Absolutely. Great suggestions.
Yeah. Hi, puppy.
Oh,
Mika, did you
There
want
you go.
did you want to say something? Mika, can you mute, please? Thank you.
I was just going to say, I tend to preface some of those kinds of conversations with, in some fashion, I care about your success. I want you to be
Yes.
successful. And so there's something I've noticed that I'm hoping that you feel comfortable with us discussing, or something along that line.
Yes. Yeah.
Just make it very clear. The only reason I'm bringing it up is because I care about their success.
Yes. Yep. in my experience working with employers, this is what they expect. You know, I really want you to be successful. I care about your success. Sometimes even very intentional and appropriate self-disclosure. You know, if it's something that you might have struggled with, being on time, or organizational skills, or other type of soft skills, communicating effectively with coworkers, there might be opportunities to really make an impact with some of those really thought out and planned disclosures. Yana, did you want to say something? Great suggestions in here. So we're going to kind of get into the meat of it here. Characteristics of a skill. You know, skills teaching is not a new, as you can see here by these references, is not new. And there aren't many newer ways. But these are kind of talking about the characteristics of a skill, behavioral actions that can be seen or heard by others. A skill is purposeful, it's intentional, it can be generalizable, can be used in a variety of different settings. So if you think about the skills that you all brought up, you know, communication could be generalizable in different settings, purposeful, it's intentional, has an intent behind it, behavioral, others can see. Compound means the combination of knowledge and behaviors, and standardized, there's an ideal way of doing it. You can kind of see this, you know, there's a pretty typical way or standard way or ideal way of performing that skill. So if someone could be willing or, you know, kind enough to provide maybe an example of the skill that they identified in the chat earlier, and kind of walk through how is it behavioral? What is the action that can be seen or heard? Peek here in the chat and see.
Well, I mentioned effective teamwork, and perhaps an observable behavior there would be volunteering to assist a teammate when you're done with your own work. Something like
Yes,
that.
volunteering to assist a teammate. I also see following directions as a skill that people identified. You know, is it something that can be observed by others? Yes. Is it purposeful? Yes, there's an intent behind it. Generalizable? Yes, it could be used across many settings. Compound and standardized. So let's see something else here in the chat. When following directions, let's see, this is some of it's cut off. John, do you want to unmute your mic? When following directions, you have to do what you've been told to do.
Yeah, basically, when you're told to do something, then your behavior follows what you've been told to do.
Yes. Yep. So you are doing what the person asked you to do, or what's in the job description, or whatever that might be. Yes. Any other comments before we move on?
I put emotional intelligence, just being able to control your behavior, your emotions, with a purpose. And not, you know, some things you can't take personally. It's constructive, it's standardized, you know.
There's an ideal way of doing it, right?
Right.
Great. Thank you, Monica. So teaching a skill, this is based on recent work that one of our professors, Dr. Janice Ausler, has done with other team members here in the Department of Psych Rehab, and also based on Pat Nemec's work from BU. Teaching a skill contains these 5 elements, you know, the skill name, so teamwork, or working on a team, it might be, and then defining what that is. What are the benefits of that skill or learning that skill? What are some of the key behaviors and under what performance conditions? So we're going to kind of walk through some common skills that are used in getting a job and then also maintaining a job. As we kind of walk through these, let's think about what those these 5 elements are in relationship to the skills. So we're going to talk about these 2: presenting qualifications. So presenting your qualifications to a potential employer during an interview, and then also conversing with others. So we're just going to talk about 2. Dr. Alsler has curriculum that I posted at the end, a link or information of how to get some additional resources. So, and yes, Jillian, you'll get a copy of the PowerPoint. So we're going to continue, and there have been some papers published on this that are helpful as well. So if we kind of walk through the 5 steps, the skill is presenting qualifications and helping the person, you and the person collaboratively defining what that looks like. For this particular skill, presenting qualifications means explaining to an interview the reasons the organization should hire you, right? So really letting the interviewer know what you're good at, what, why they should hire you, how to present those qualifications. So what do you think a benefit of presenting qualifications might be? So if someone were learning this skill, or you were hoping to teach someone this skill, I would want to know, well, what's the benefit of learning this skill? What's in it for me? Why is this important? And again, not everyone you're working with may want this level of skills teaching, but certainly there are some people who may not have worked for a while, may not understand some of the nuances of interviewing, particularly presenting qualifications. So what might be some of the benefits that you would describe? More likely to get hired if your skills match their needs. Yes. So you want, why would you want the job seeker you're working with to hear what the benefits are and have them articulate it and collaboratively discuss what those benefits of learning the skill might be? Jeanette, it can build self-esteem. John, when presenting your qualifications, you're showing an employer why it would be good to hire you. Chanel, to ensure that you're presenting your qualifications in a thoughtful way that uniquely meets their needs. Absolutely. Jolie, personal and occupational growth. In an interview, you're essentially selling your abilities and qualifications, so you need to be able to articulate this and show confidence. Yes, wonderful answers. I just had presenting qualifications on an interview provides you with a better opportunity to be chosen for the position. Pretty much what you all had mentioned. What are some of the behaviors, if you were to list the behaviors of presenting qualifications, what would some of those behaviors be? And this is where you kind of can really distill the skill down so that you can be teaching individuals some of these behaviors, or maybe the person has, 1 or 2 of the behaviors already fine, no problems. Then you can kind of build the skills, right? Really come at it from a strengths-based approach. So what would some of the behaviors be in presenting qualifications? Okay. Head up, good eye contact, speak with confidence. Yes, Allie. Lance, certain body posture. Yes. Oh, that was Dawn with the head up. Allie had something similar. Eye contact, no ums, no fidgeting, smile, act sure of yourself, clear speech, good handshake. Yes, just kind of taking the good handshake. that might be something the person does really well. So compliment that, your handshake is right on point. You do a wonderful job making eye contact. Let's talk about these other areas that we might be able to improve on to have you be the most successful version of yourself, to kind of go back to the benefit, to have the employer see that you're a good match. Do not use like in your sentences. That's a hard one. I still struggle with that sometimes. Yes, I have just, so on the next slide, I'll share what they kind of developed in their curriculum. But I think it's important. These are part of the brainstorming that you want to do with individuals you're working with so that they're involved. It's not just you presenting this content outline. The person is actually involved and engaged in creating it. Chanel, being fully engaged and ready with thoughtful questions or comments. Yes, so you kind of want to list these behaviors. And then the performance condition would be when you're called to go on the interview. So the performance condition is kind of when that skill is needed. And it could be when you're called in for an interview. It could be if the employer calls you or calls the person and has some additional questions. It could be even something written, maybe it's presenting qualifications in a cover letter. So the performance condition varies, right? Depending on where that person is going to be using the skill, maybe in person at the interview, online, sending an email, maybe it's a typed cover letter that they're sending out. Any questions so far? So here's kind of the answers, but you may have you touched on many of those. Let's see, we have Sonia, don't be afraid to say I haven't experienced that scenario, but I do have similar situation to share when asked to share a specific skill they may not have. Yes. Yep. Be open and honest with the person. So this is the content outline. And again, it might differ depending on what the skill is, what the performance conditions are. But it just kind of gives you a tool, a template to use. Another one, when someone is on the job and maybe they've been working for a while and are having some difficulties, and through your assessments, whether it's observations or other types of assessments, role plays, conversing with others might be a soft skill that someone isn't as skilled in and may need some improvement. So the definition would be conversing with others means engaging in verbal, kind of reciprocal exchanges of your thoughts and ideas with other people. So, again, that definition might look different to people on the call, to people that you're working with. How would you define conversing with others? Sangha, did you want to say something?
Yes. What did you say again?
Yes. It's part of what you're saying. Absolutely. What would be the benefit to the person to learn conversing with others? You can write it in the chat, or Sangha, if you wanted to respond.
Conversing with others means converse means it's like just not just stick my own ideas, but be interested in other people's idea.
Yes, yes, the benefit is hearing others' ideas, other perspective. In the chat here, we have Lance learning more about others, development of natural supports at work. Yes, so people that the job seeker or employee can call on if needed, kind of developing those relationships, work camaraderie. Yes, Monica, building relationships with others. So again, kind of coming at it from the person's perspective and what they identify as the benefit. And they might need some coaching or support to think about what that benefit might be. But overall, you want to collaborate with the person. What behaviors are needed for conversing on the job or conversing with others? What are some key behaviors that you need to know how to do to perform this skill effectively?
Like the behavior should be like have a group meeting with other people in a scheduled meeting.
Yep. So it might be in a group meeting. Work appropriate content. Yes, Monica. So choosing topics for a conversation. So helping the person choose what topics. Let's see, something else here in the chat. Let other people talk. Yes. So that's part of it too. Demonstrate interest in what others are saying. Allow some silence to let the other person contribute to the conversation. Active listening. Yes, Monica. Gain confidence in approaching others in the team for help when needed. Yes. When you use reply all. Yes, that's true too. You know, when to use reply all. I mean, that's so true. I can't even tell you how that resonates. Yes, those are kinds of behaviors that if you're not working or haven't run across that, not knowing that is unhelpful. DEI. Corey, do you want to explain that a little bit? Some of the behaviors related to conversing with others and DEI? You want to unmute or write a follow-up in the chat? That'd be great.
Well,
Yes.
I think my organization is very much in, to integrating DEI into the organization. So that means everybody has a voice, everybody's included, and so everybody can have different backgrounds and stuff, but people come together and learn about other people and stuff like that. So
I love that. So being aware and mindful of the work culture and DEI practices that are in place. Another
right.
behavior, yes.
Yeah.
Another behavior might be the ability to change a topic, right? Or conclude the conversation. So, you know, sometimes it's hard to know when to step away or when the conversation is over. So, you know, that's a very subtle skill that could be really important to the person. So, you know, having some of this of a framework, and of course, the performance condition would be when you're in a social situation with peers, such as, you know, maybe there's a cafeteria or other kind of space during lunchtime. So that could be one performance condition. Maybe that's the assessment that you're doing with someone to kind of identify what are the times that are most difficult for the person. Maybe it's those social situations. Maybe it's not conversing with others in general. Maybe it's, you know, the work-related stuff and the tasks and the responsibilities of work are fine. Maybe it is those downtimes, such as during lunch or other moments when kind of conversing with others is important to build that camaraderie, like you all mentioned. So again, just kind of filled out for you. So I was thinking what we could do is, again, maybe we can do a breakout room and kind of reinforce some of what we were talking about, the skill name, the definition, benefit, list of key behaviors, performance conditions. Dawn, any input on whether breakout rooms or kind of the large room? I kind of think the large room is working for us.
I honestly believe it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another.
Okay.
The large room is working for us. Breakout rooms might get a little more conversation from some folks that haven't spoken up.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's a sometimes people leave you know, at the breakout, but I think a breakout I think we have some time to do a breakout, and I'll post this in the breakout room, but we're going to create some groups and identify one person to be a facilitator, one person to take notes and kind of report back to the larger group, and identify one skill from that list we identified earlier, or something that your group can think about that you can go through the skill name, defining it, what's the benefit of learning that skill, what's the list of key behaviors, and what are the performance conditions. So I think we can spend about 8 minutes or so, 5 to 8 minutes in the breakout, and then we'll come back together to follow up and further discuss. So I'm going to create those rooms. We have 35 people, so maybe we'll do 6 rooms. Okay, so I'm going to open the rooms, and please join or let us know if you have any problems joining. Rooms are open, so you should be getting an invitation to join. Please do so. Few more people. Jillian, Jeanette, or Aubrey is in room 1. If you could join, Mika is in room 2. DeSonia and Tammy in room 3. Jessica, Marisa in room 4. Sabbath, room 5. So please join.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to speak up and let you know that unfortunately at this time, I don't have the ability to accommodate a more active role. I do just need to kind of be a silent observer.
Okay, Marisa, we're going to be coming back to the larger group in about 7 minutes or so. So if you want to consider a skill that you identified or another skill, you can certainly do that and at least walk through the activity, whether it's with us in the larger group or just kind of walking through it for your own benefit.
Perfect. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, welcome back. We'll resume the recording. Welcome back, everyone. Remember, when you come back to the main room, you'll have to mute your mics. I don't think it automatically mutes. So
It doesn't matter a time.
Is there a group who would like to share 1 or 2 of the skills? Maybe we'll hear from a couple of groups. Vaughn, yes.
Oops.
What was the skill?
It was for interviewing, and we were discussing the importance of attendance to the interview, especially for those who had a tendency to skip meetings that we might have with them. And we also discussed the importance of teaching them how to become storytellers. And so that when they have a question that they're not comfortable with, they have an answer ready. That's what we were discussing.
Great. So the list of behaviors, it sounds like kind of that storytelling, being prepared with a response to maybe a tough question that the employer might pose. Great. And then the performance conditions for that skill?
The performance condition was to keep them on track, to keep them focused, to make sure that they don't treat it like it's a personal visit where they can just talk about any topic. So the behaviors to teach them how to be professional so they can stay on topic.
Yes, so some of those behaviors might be eye contact, allowing the other person to speak, certainly similar to the conversing with others, but in a more formal way. And the performance condition during the interview, when they're called for an interview, being able to perform that skill. The performance condition is really that time when the person needs to perform that particular skill. Great, thank you. And that could be a formal interview in person, maybe it's a phone interview, maybe it's a Zoom interview. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Vaughn. Anyone else
welcome.
want to share their skill and kind of go through the activity? Yes, we have something here in the chat. Lance, okay, so not enough time for group 3. Lance, do you want to share what some of your discussion? It sounds like you had some good discussions. You know, even if you didn't get a chance to get through all of it, maybe those discussions could be helpful for others.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, good.
All right. We use the skill of following directions. For the definition, we have following directions means having the ability to listen to what is being told, process the instructions, stay on task, and perform the duties as instructed.
Great.
The benefits: keeping your job, personal occupational growth, job completion, building self-confidence by looking at the task you completed. And also another one I would throw in there would be to build professional relationships with colleagues, being able to follow through, show that reliability.
Absolutely.
But that's as far as we got.
That's pretty far. So you got a good chunk of it finished enough to I can see that your group is able to kind of walk through these five tasks of skill teaching. Great.
Thank you.
So if no one else has anything to add for the skill teaching, please share. You know, I'll wait a couple of seconds. And if not, we will open up the floor if anyone has a success or a challenge that they want to talk about before we end, kind of at that summary point. And I want to make sure we have some time to celebrate a success or strategize around the challenge.
I was wondering if I could say something.
Yes, please.
When it comes to soft skills, especially with like neurodivergent people, it's like you can teach people these skills, but it can be and they can learn them, but practicing those skills can be very exhausting. So I think when talking about soft skills, you also need to have a conversation about burnout and what it looks like. And like, yeah, I know I should probably be eating with my coworkers and having conversations, but if I've spent all day, you know, masking and performing, that might be my time to, you know, go be by myself and take a break. So kind of like learning how to manage that, because it's almost like a different culture, being in a different culture and learning the mannerisms of a different culture. So yeah, when are you going to step back and rest or be to yourself? I think that's very important for longevity.
Absolutely. And the soft skill for that, Tatum, might be learning how to communicate to your coworkers that, you know, my preference is to spend some time at my desk alone during my lunch break. You know, that's even a soft skill, learning how to, you know, let your coworkers know that you're not just ignoring them, but you're taking some time for yourself. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then, yes, I love that point, Tatum. And again, these are soft skills that the person is that you're assisting the person in identifying that they want to learn or would help in their success. You know, certainly we're not going to be pushing everyone to learn these soft skills. If you know, if at like Tatum's point, someone might feel at this moment in their career that they want to, you know, maybe not converse or might need to step away from some of the interactions a bit. Chanel is writing in the chat, any practice invites growth and adds to their success. Yes, absolutely. But also being mindful of taking care of yourself and, you know, the fatigue and exhaustion that often comes along with some of these new skills that someone may not have been accustomed to performing. So we're at the end, and I thank you all for your active participation. Again, get in touch with Dawn and Darren about any topics you would like to see. Here are the resources I referenced throughout if you're interested in getting some more information about soft skills. Dr. Ausler, and you'll be receiving these. I think we addressed some questions and comments throughout. Dawn's address is there in the chat, and we want to thank you. My email is here, and then I know Dawn typically kind of ends with any further housekeeping or any additional information. I'll put my email here in the chat.
Thank you, Joni, very much. Well done. I've yet to attend one that was anything less than well done. I appreciate you so very much. Also keep in mind anybody that wants some additional training kind of in between times. My colleague Darren and I can do individualized trainings for agencies if you have specific training topics that need to be addressed. If it's a topic that's more relevant for a larger group, we have the Job Developers Community of Practice and our topical employment webinars that we're always looking for topics for. Thanks everyone so much for being here.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
You too. Take care.
Bye. Thanks.